They always say high school is supposed to be the best time of your life. Those 4 years when everything feels big. Love, fear, the future. And you think you'll remember it all forever. The smell of cheap perfume in crowded hallways, the echo of sneakers on tile floors, the sound of lockers slamming shut like mechanical thunder. You tell yourself you'll miss it someday, and maybe you do. Maybe that's the trick. Because when I think back now, I don't just remember the laughter or the lights at prom. I remember what came after the lights went out. I remember how sometimes the hallway kept echoing long after everyone went home. There's something about high schools that traps time. The clocks always tick, but the air feels still, like the walls are holding their breath. Maybe it's all that teenage energy, fear, anger, heartbreak soaked into the bricks. Or maybe it's something else, something that learned to feed on it. I used to scroll through horror forums late at night. Stories about haunted gymnasiums, cursed yearbooks, whispers in the bleachers. At first, I thought they were all the same recycled ghost stories. But one night, I found a thread that shouldn't have been there. The title was simple. Do you remember Locker 392? When I refreshed the page 5 minutes later, the post was gone. Deleted. The account that posted it, wiped clean. But that title, it stuck with me, because there really was a Locker 392 at my school, and I'd heard its story before. That's the thing about these stories. They vanish online, but they never really go away. They just wait for someone new to remember them, and sometimes remembering is what brings them back. So, if any of this sounds familiar, if you've ever heard whispers about a teacher who didn't exist, or seen a hallway light flicker after midnight, don't brush it off. Tell me in the comments. Maybe your school had one too. Maybe you were there. These aren't just stories. They're warnings, and they all happened in places just like your school. Let's start with a locker that no one dared to open. Story 1. The Locker That Never Opens. Pow 50 words. I transferred to Lincoln. High halfway through junior year. The kind of school that smells like floor wax and broken dreams. The kind of place where everyone already knows each other, and new kids like me are just background noise. I didn't expect to fit in. I just wanted to survive the year unnoticed. But that changed the first time I saw Locker 392. It was at the far end of the east hallway, just past the art wing, where the paint always smelled faintly rotten. All the lockers there were scuffed and dented, names carved into them, stickers half-peeled. All except one. Locker 392 looked untouched, new almost, except for the heavy padlock on it, rusted into place. At first, I didn't think much of it. But one day, while waiting for the bell, I noticed something strange. Every other locker had a student's name printed on the schedule list taped above it. Not 392. The space next to it was blank. Don't stare too long, someone said behind me. It was Jess, the girl who sat 2 rows over in English. She had that half smirk that made everything sound like a dare. Why? I asked. She shrugged. It's cursed. Or haunted. Depends who you ask. I laughed because I thought she was joking. She didn't laugh back. She told me that locker had belonged to a girl named Mara Ellis, who went missing in 2003. Nobody ever found her, but her locker was sealed after she disappeared. The janitors were ordered never to touch it. They tried cutting it open once, Jess whispered. The lock broke their saw blade. Principal freaked out. They just left it alone after that. I should have walked away right there, but instead, I started noticing things. Sometimes when I stayed late after class, I'd hear the faintest click, like metal shifting. Other times, footsteps echoing down the hall when no one was around. One night, I swore I heard someone whisper from behind the locker door. I told myself it was just air pressure or my imagination. But deep down, I wanted to believe it was something else, something interesting. That's how it starts. The hunger for something beyond boring reality. The need to touch the edge of a story. A week later, I found a group of seniors doing what they called the 3-knock dare. You're supposed to knock 3 times, say, "Who's there, Mara?" and listen. If she answers, you'll know she's still inside. They all chickened out before the 3rd knock. I didn't. When my knuckles hit the cold metal the 3rd time, the hallway lights flickered. The sound echoed longer than it should have, like it was traveling down a tunnel. Then came a sound I'll never forget. 3 soft knocks from the other side. Everyone screamed. The seniors ran, laughing nervously, pretending it didn't scare them. But I just stood there frozen. I swear I heard someone breathing behind the metal. That night, I dreamed of the locker opening on its own. In the dream, the inside was covered in mirrors, each one reflecting my face, but older, thinner, terrified. When I woke up, I could still hear the echoes of the knocks. Over the next week, weird things started happening. My combination lock jammed constantly. Papers went missing. My phone would vibrate randomly, showing unknown locker on the screen. I didn't even know a phone could show that. Jess told me to stop going near it. People mess with that locker and start losing stuff. Memories, mostly. I laughed it off, but the truth was I was already losing sleep. Every night I'd think I heard metal clicking outside my window. Every morning my locker handle would feel slightly warm, like someone had just touched it. Then one afternoon, I found a folded note slipped under my door. No handwriting on the outside. Inside, in thin, careful letters, it said, "Thank you for knocking." I was so lonely. My stomach dropped. It couldn't be real, but the paper smelled faintly like the school hallway, cleaner and rust. The next day, I went back to 392. The lock was gone. The door hung slightly open, just enough to see darkness inside. My hands were shaking as I pulled it open. There was nothing inside except another note. The paper looked old, yellowed at the edges, but the ink was fresh. "You shouldn't have answered." I stumbled backward, heart racing. When I looked again, the locker door was closed tight. I pulled at it. It was locked again, like it had never been opened. I told Jess about it the next morning, but she just stared at me. "That's not funny," she said. "The janitor sealed that locker years ago. It's welded shut." She dragged me down the hall to prove it. Sure enough, the padlock was back, rusted over, completely untouched. My fingerprints weren't there. For the rest of the semester, I avoided that hallway. But sometimes I'd hear the echo of knocking, 3 short taps, coming from behind the walls. The last day of school, I went to grab my stuff from my own locker. When I opened it, a single folded note fell out, face down on the floor. I almost didn't pick it up, but curiosity's a disease, and I'd already caught it. On the paper were 5 words. "I like your new locker." That's when I realized the number plate had changed. My locker wasn't 3 and 12 anymore. Someone, or something, had switched it. The metal tag above the door now read, 392. If you think your school's haunted, check locker 392. If it's still there. That wasn't the last time a teacher tried to hide something from us. You ever have a teacher you just can't picture clearly? Like you remember the class, the assignments, the sound of the chalk. But when you try to imagine their face, it's just blank. That's how it was with Mr. Hale. He showed up one Monday morning, subbing for our history teacher, Mr. Rogers, who'd apparently taken an unexpected leave. Nobody questioned it. Substitutes come and go, but even on that first day, something about him felt off. He was tall, but not too tall. His voice was deep, but not deep enough to stand out. Every detail about him hovered in that strange middle ground of forgettable. You could look right at him and somehow not see him. "Good morning, class," he said in this calm, measured tone. "Let's talk about things we've forgotten." Everyone laughed, thinking it was a joke, but he didn't smile. He started the lesson with a timeline of local history. Boring stuff, small-town origins, old buildings. Then he paused on a slide showing our own school, Lincoln High, and said, "Interesting institution. Many students have moved on from here." The projector flickered when he said, "moved on." I thought it was just the bulb, but the air felt colder after that. By Wednesday, people started whispering that one of the juniors, Evan Clark, had transferred suddenly. No one saw him pack up, no goodbyes, no announcement. His locker was cleared out overnight. I remember asking Jess about it. "Didn't he sit behind me in English?" She frowned. "Evan who?" That's when I realized she genuinely didn't remember him. His name wasn't even on the attendance list anymore. Mr. Hale kept showing up, each time subbing for a different teacher. Biology one day, English the next, and every time he appeared, another student vanished. People said they transferred, but the files always vanished too. My friend Cole decided to record one of Hale's classes on his phone. "If this dude's creepy, we'll catch it on video," he said. We sat through 50 minutes of the most monotonous lecture you can imagine, about forgotten wars and erased names. When the bell rang, we both felt weirdly drained, like we'd been holding our breath the whole time. Later, Cole sent me the video. "Dude, check this out." At first, it looked normal. Then Hale turned toward the camera. His face glitched. Not like a digital artifact. More like his features rearranged themselves. The image warped, split, and suddenly his head seemed to tilt in two directions at once. The whispers started then, faint overlapping voices layered beneath his. "Do you remember me?" they said. Over and over, dozens of them. I told Cole to delete it, but he just laughed. "Bro, it's probably a bug or something." The next morning, Cole didn't show up for class. His desk was empty. His name, gone from the attendance sheet. I went to the principal's office, panicking. She looked up from her computer and smiled politely. "Yes? I need to talk to you about one of the substitutes, Mr. Hale." Her expression didn't change. "We haven't hired any substitutes this semester." I froze. "No, he's been teaching all week. Everyone's seen him." She shook her head. "All our regular staff are present. Perhaps you're confused." When I insisted, she printed a staff list and slid it across the desk. "No, Mr. Hale." I remember looking up at her and noticing her hand trembling slightly as she turned off the printer. "You should probably head back to class," she said softly. "And try not to mention that name again." That night, I checked my phone. The video Cole sent me was gone. The entire message thread had disappeared. Even his number no longer existed in my contacts. I searched his username online. Nothing. But I did find one strange forum post, archived on a site I'd never visited before. The title, "Lincoln High Substitute Footage. Do not repost." The thumbnail was gray, corrupted. When I clicked it, the post loaded for a second, then blinked out. The page replaced with an error message. Content removed by request of faculty. Faculty. Not moderators. After that, things got worse. Mr. Hale started showing up even when no one had called in sick. Sometimes he'd just be standing in the hall between classes, hands clasped behind his back, watching the students pass by. When you walked by him, it felt like static brushing your skin. The weirdest part? No one else seemed to care. I'd whisper to people, "Did you see him just standing there?" And they'd look confused. "Who?" By the end of the month, 4 more students had transferred. That's what the announcement said. But I started counting the empty desks. There were more than 4. I tried to write everything down, every name, every missing face. But the notes I took in class would fade the next day, like the ink itself was forgetting. One night, I stayed late to confront him. I waited by the history classroom until the halls emptied. The light under the door flickered. When I peeked in, Mr. Hale was at the whiteboard, writing something. Not words, just names. Hundreds of them looping over each other. When he turned around, his eyes looked wrong. Like static through glass. "You shouldn't linger," he said softly. "The ones who remember too long get remembered back." I ran. The next morning, the classroom was spotless. The board was wiped clean. No one remembered him teaching there. I went to the attendance office and asked for my own file. The clerk frowned. "That's strange," she said. "Your record's been partially archived." I didn't wait to hear the rest. Now, years later, I still think about him, the way his voice echoed, not in my ears but in my head. Sometimes when I'm half asleep, I hear it again. "Do you remember me?" I don't know if he was a ghost or something worse, something that feeds on being forgotten. But I do know one thing. Someone once posted his photo online. The file corrupted instantly. If you ever meet a substitute teacher whose name you forget the second you hear it, don't look too closely. The school tried to cover it up, but they missed something on the cameras. When you're a hall monitor, you learn 2 things fast. First, that silence in a school is never really silent. And second, that cameras see more than you ever will. I took the job because it meant free period access and a tiny paycheck. Easy gig, patrol the halls, log any late students, report broken lights. Boring, right? But Lincoln High had an unspoken rule. Never touch the security room. It was this locked office near the cafeteria, glass window half covered by blinds. Every now and then, You'd see the janitor or one of the IT guys go in there, eyes down, keys jangling. Nobody else was allowed, until the day they made a mistake. One morning, Mr. Fallon, the assistant principal, handed me a set of keys by accident. I only noticed later that one was stamped with a small black sticker. Camera room. Authorized only. Curiosity's a disease, and I was already infected. That night, after cleaning duty, I used the key. The door creaked open like it hadn't been oiled in years. Inside were a dozen monitors stacked in 2 rows, all glowing in gray static. The hum of the machines was almost soothing. Most of the screens showed the usual, empty hallways, classrooms, stairwells. But one feed caught my attention. Camera 09, East Wing, after hours. The timestamp was wrong. It was showing 3:12 a.m., except it was only 7:43 p.m. in real time. Then something moved on screen. A figure walked down the east hallway. No flashlight, no phone glow, just walking. The weird part? The east hallway didn't exist. That whole section had been sealed off for years after a boiler explosion. I'd seen it myself. Walls bricked over, lights removed. I leaned closer. The person on screen turned toward the camera. For a second, I thought the feed was glitching. Their body looked warped, like the pixels didn't know what shape to make. Then they smiled, and every camera in the room went black. The next morning, I asked the janitor, Mr. Ray, if anyone had access to the East Wing. He froze mid-sweep. "You shouldn't be asking about that," he said quietly. "That hallway's not there anymore." But I saw someone on the feed. He looked at me for a long moment. "Then you didn't." Later that day, an email popped into my school inbox. No subject line, no sender. Just one sentence. "Do not watch the night feeds alone." That night, I went back anyway. Curiosity again. Camera 09 was active. Same timestamp. 3:12 a.m. But now, there were 3 figures. They walked together, hands clasped, heads tilted. They stopped at classroom 2E. The door opened for them. There is no classroom 2E. I paused the feed and printed a frame from the footage, then went to the IT guy, Darren, the next morning. "Hey," I said, "you ever seen this before?" He looked at the printout. "Where'd you get this?" "Camera 09, he blinked. "We don't have a camera 09, I laughed nervously. "Yeah, right," he didn't laugh. He leaned in close. "Listen, if anyone asks, you didn't see that. There are custodians who handle those feeds." "Custodians? Like janitors?" He shook his head. "Not the kind you see during the day. That night, I went looking for them. The school after dark feels wrong. The air gets heavy like you're underwater. My footsteps echoed too loud. When I reached the East Wing barricade, I found something I'd never noticed before, a maintenance door with a new padlock. The metal was still warm, like it had just been handled. I knelt to look through the keyhole. Inside, the hallway was lit, and the figures from the feed were there, frozen in place, like mannequins. Only one of them moved, slowly, their head turned toward the door. I heard a faint static hum, then a whisper. "We see you too." I ran. When I checked the security room again, the footage from that camera was gone. Every file, every clip, deleted. The only folder left was labeled Custodians, Archive. It was password protected, but one thumbnail still displayed. Future recording 07/04/2027. The timestamp wasn't even supposed to be possible. The next day, I found Mr. Ray in the hallway. "Who are the custodians?" I asked. He sighed. "People who erase things, memories, mistakes. They keep the school from remembering too much." "From remembering what?" He didn't answer. Just said, "Some rooms shouldn't be recorded. They record back." That night, I watched one last time. I set up my phone to film the screen, just in case. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the monitor flickered on again. Same hallway, same classroom door. But this time, the camera angle shifted on its own, turning, focusing. On me. I swear the figure in the video was standing behind me, just out of frame. My reflection glitched on the screen, like I was inside the feed too. Then everything went black, When I woke up, I was on the floor, hours later. The monitors were off. The clock read 7:04 a.m. My phone was gone. When I told Darren, he looked pale. "You said you recorded it?" "Yeah, why?" he sighed. "Check your drive." When I did, there was one new file. Hallway Cam09 MP4. But the date read 07/04/2027 future recording. I opened it, and for a split second I saw my own face, older, gaunt, whispering into the camera, "If this video disappears, you'll know they found me." Then the file deleted itself. Later that week, the principal announced a technical reset of all camera systems. Every feed was reformatted. The room was sealed shut, permanently. A few days after that, Mr. Ray didn't show up for work. Darren said he transferred. Same word they always use. Before they closed the security room for good, I broke in one last time. There was a single sheet of paper taped to the monitor, written in careful handwriting. "We clean what must be forgotten." The screen underneath was still on, faintly flickering. Camera 09, in it, I could see myself, standing exactly where I was, watching. Only the timestamp said, "Future recording, 07/04/2027. The feed froze on my face. "If this video disappears, you'll know they found me." Some of you saw the clip before it got taken down. After that, the school shut down all extracurriculars. Except drama club. The first rule of Lincoln High Drama Club was simple. No ghost stories on stage. But we broke that rule every chance we got. That spring, Mr. Atkins, our usual director, was on leave. No one ever explained why. So the seniors decided to direct ourselves. We picked a play no one had ever heard of, one that showed up on a message board for banned scripts, The Unseen Audience. It sounded edgy, perfect for our final showcase. I remember the first line like it was stitched into my head. "They're still watching, even when the lights go out." We thought it was metaphorical. At first, rehearsals were chaos. Half the cast skipping, stage lights shorting out, someone always complaining about the draft backstage, normal high school theater stuff, but the script started changing. It began when Sam, our lead, noticed one of his lines was different. "Hey," he said, flipping through his copy. "This isn't what I highlighted." "It's like it rewrote itself." We laughed. "Yeah, sure. Blame the haunted printer." Except when he read it out loud, the rest of us froze. "Sam, why are you looking at me like that?" "Lena, because you're not supposed to be here." Those were our exact words from a conversation we'd had an hour earlier, off stage. We checked everyone's copies. Same revision. That's when we should have stopped. But we didn't. The more we rehearsed, the more the dialogue blurred with our lives. Scenes reflected arguments we hadn't told anyone about. The script started mentioning names that weren't in the cast list. Names like Rowan or Miss H. No one at school had those names. And then, one afternoon during a lighting test, the stage lights flickered hard, like the whole grid was glitching. For a second, we saw a sixth person on stage. We had 5 cast members. She was standing at the edge of the curtain, facing the audience seats, her hands clasped like she was waiting for applause. "Who's that?" Lena asked, squinting. The lights flicked again, and she was gone. We checked backstage, in the wings, even under the risers. Nothing. That night, someone, probably me, I'll admit, joked that maybe she was the unseen audience. We even wrote her into the play. Gave her a name, Spectator, bad idea. By opening night, the air in the auditorium felt wrong. Heavy. Like the whole place was holding its breath. We'd sold out the house, mostly parents and bored students. When the curtain opened, everything looked normal, until the lights began to pulse, almost like a heartbeat. Halfway through the second act, Sam forgot his line. He stood there, frozen, staring into the dark audience. "Sam?" I whispered from backstage. He didn't answer. Then, from the audience, a single clap echoed. Slow. The sound guy swore later that no mic was on. but everyone heard it. The script had one more page, the final monologue. The one none of us remembered writing. Sam unfolded his copy and read, voice trembling, "You've all played your parts well, but the show isn't over. Not until they take their bow." He pointed toward the audience. Every spotlight turned at once, off stage, into the crowd, empty seats. But in the reflection of the back wall, we saw them. Rows of pale faces sitting in perfect silence, not moving, not blinking, then blackout. When the lights came back up, Sam was still mid-bow. Smiling, we thought he was acting. Until we noticed his eyes, glass still, fixed on something above us. He didn't respond when we touched him. He didn't move when the paramedics came. His pulse was fine. Breathing normal, but his face never changed. They said it was shock, stress, maybe even a seizure. But none of that explained why. When we replayed the show's recording, Sam wasn't in it at all. There were only 4 actors on stage, and yet, during the curtain call, 5 shadows bowed. The administration buried it fast. No official statements. The auditorium under renovation. Drama club disbanded. But a week later, I got an email. No sender, no subject, just a file. Unseen, audience final.pdf. I opened it. It was our play. But there was an extra line, written in italics at the bottom of the last page. "If you find this version, read it out loud. Just once." They like new performers. I didn't, but someone did. Because last year, a video surfaced online. A stage somewhere in Ohio. Same title, same lines, same ending. The girl playing Lena froze mid-bow, smiling. The upload vanished in hours, but copies circulate. People claim the final frame shows a 6th person, standing behind the curtain, watching. Some say it's Sam, some say it's whoever reads the last page next. We thought we were being dramatic. Turns out we were being documented. So if you ever find that script, The Unseen Audience, check the ending. There's only one version that ends differently. And if you decide to read it out loud, just once, make sure the house lights stay on. Because if they go out, someone new gets added to the cast. We thought it ended there. Until graduation night. Graduation night was supposed to be closure. The end of everything that haunted us. The school looked almost peaceful under the floodlights. Banners flapping, gowns rustling, parents crying in the stands. We took photos, threw our caps, and pretended the last 4 years hadn't been stitched together with fear. But I should have known the story wasn't done. That night, after the after-party, after the last goodbye that felt like a relief, I got a call, unknown number, area code from the school district. I almost didn't answer, but it was late, and part of me thought maybe it was one of the guys drunk dialing nostalgia. So I picked up, and I heard her voice. "Hey," she said softly, "you're still awake." It took me a second to breathe, because it was Jenny's voice. Jenny, who died last year in that car crash after rehearsal. "Jenny?" A pause. Then quietly, "They're opening the school again." The line cracked, like an old radio tuning through static. "What? Who's opening it?" "The custodians," she whispered. "They never closed it. They just changed the doors." Then on to silence. And then, faintly, I heard it. The sound of a locker slamming shut. 3 times. Click, click, click. The call ended. At first, I thought it had to be a prank. Someone using a recording, messing with me because they knew what happened. The stories, the rumors, all the weird things that got deleted online. But then my phone lit up again. Not one call. Dozens. Each from different numbers. All at once. I scrolled through the screen and my stomach dropped. Every name flashing across the caller ID was someone who died in high school. Across the country. Different towns, different schools. But all from the same district code. They called for exactly 7 seconds each, and every voicemail was the same. The sound of a hallway. The hum of fluorescent lights. A faint rhythmic tapping, like footsteps between classes. I went online, searching forums, group chats, anything. And that's when I found the thread. Did anyone else get a call from their old school tonight? Hundreds of replies. Some said they answered. Some didn't. A few posted audio clips, but the files corrupted as soon as they uploaded. One comment stood out. If you ever get a call from your old school number, don't answer. They're taking attendance. I didn't want to believe it, but I started connecting the dots. The lockers, the substitute, the cameras, the play. Every story had one thing in common. They all happened in schools from the same district. Same crest on the letterhead. Same yearbook code on the back page, D392, locker 392, that number again. And if you look closely, like I did, way too late, every yearbook photo from those schools has a faint figure in the background. Same height, same posture, always blurred, always facing the camera. It's like the district's haunted by something that wants to remember us, or maybe something that doesn't want to be forgotten. I tried to block the calls, change my number, but the next morning, my phone rang again. No caller ID this time. I let it go to voicemail. The message started with a breath. Then a voice low and distorted said, "Attendance." Begins again. Then a sound I'll never forget. The faint crackle of an intercom turning on. And the principal's voice. The same principal who retired years ago. "Good morning, students. Welcome back." Click. That's when I realized the school wasn't reopening in real life. It was reopening through us, through anyone who still remembered it. Every time we tell these stories, every time someone listens, it's like a new bell rings. That's why they call. That's why they whisper, "We're all still enrolled." You might think that's just a metaphor, a creepy coincidence. But check your call history. Look closely at the unknown numbers. If any of them start with your school's area code, don't answer. Because when I finally picked up one more time, I heard voices behind the static, laughter, footsteps, the rustle of graduation gowns. And one final thing. Just before the call cut out, you're next in line. I stared at my reflection in the phone screen, and for a split second I could have sworn I saw the school behind me, the hallways, the lockers, the light flickering at the end of the corridor. Then the screen went black. I'm telling you this because if you've heard any of these stories before, maybe you were there, maybe your name's already on the list. This story isn't over. It's being re-enrolled. You're probably wondering how I know all this. I'm recording this from inside the school. The halls are darker than I remember, the air thick with dust and whispers. They sound like voices reading roll call, one name at a time. Mine was first. Now they're getting louder, closer. If you're still listening, check your phone notifications. You might already have a missed call from an unknown number, same area code as your old school. Don't answer it. Not yet, because if you do, you'll hear what I'm hearing now. The final bell. Some memories never graduate. If you're still here, comment your school name. Maybe it's one of ours. And if I don't reply, you'll know why. The light above me just flickered. The door's opening. They're taking attendance again. Class dismissed.